I couldn't believe somebody told me once that they were tired of coleus. How could you get tired of coleus? That's like saying I'm tired of cloth, because there's so many different kinds. They come in so many colors and patterns. You can always find the one that you need to go with whatever flowers that you have. There's pattern forms and there's solid forms, and they go every hue you can imagine. That poor person to think they're tired of this very beautiful plant. The red buckeye is a common understory shrub throughout West Tennessee and most of the southeast. And even though these aren't in flower yet, you see one that's just trying to start right there. And a friend of mine actually calls them the red salvia tree, because they do look like red salvia when they're in full flower. If you're a hummingbird lover, you just really need one of these plants, because to me it's the harbinger of the hummingbird's arrival. They seem to actually follow the red buckeye bloom north, and they're very easily grown. They'll work in sun or shade. They actually bloom better in the sun, but they do drop their leaves later in the summer, so I like to kind of hide them in a group of other plants so that they can hide their ugly habits later in the year. Everybody knows redbud. You see them blooming along the roadsides all through the springtime. That's our native redbud, Cercis canadensis. This is actually a Chinese form of redbud, and this particular kind of shrubby vase-shaped form is called Don Egov. We're going to have these for sale in our plant sale as well. So maybe in the garden where you'd want more of a shrub instead of a tree, it's a great early spring bloomer. Real neat how the flowers are just clustered so tightly along the stems. And by the way, if you've never eaten a redbud flower, whether it's our native or the Chinese called Don Egov, they're quite tasty. Sweet and crunchy with just a nice little tangy afterbite. This is an example of the older forms of hellebore, and while still a great garden plant, you see that the blooms nod and they hang down. I used to always tell you to try to plant them up the hill so you could kind of enjoy the flowers more. And they're quite beautiful, but you always had to kind of lift the flower and go, wow, you're pretty, and then enjoy them that way. So these new forms are much more attractive. This is one of the new forms that they're breeding for the upward and outward facing blooms. This one is starting to be a little past its prime. These were much pinker just a couple of weeks ago. And it starts in like late January and February and blooms throughout early spring. And the flowers are still attractive for several weeks after the peak. So really crazy about these, and highly recommended as a tough, durable perennial for your garden, especially your dry woodland shade garden. Well, we've known and loved our common eastern redbud for years, and we do love that color. Some people call it purple, I call magenta, other people call it pink. But we're really excited about a new selection now of redbud that's called Appalachian Red. It's not truly red, but it is definitely a much hotter, warmer shade of pink. And it's a beautifully shaped tree. We've got a real nice specimen here on the grounds. It's just not quite at peak bloom. And we will have a few of these in our plant sale this year, but you better come quick because these go fast.